House Speaker Mike Johnson's in a bit of a tough spot when it comes to Epstein. There's this needle that he needs to thread on where he has to pretend that he wants transparency, both because it looks really bad if you don't, and also he has called himself a Christian or whatever, so you're supposed to care about the kids. But the issue is that he really needs to protect Donald Trump, and Donald Trump does not want transparency. So if you're a tiny little goblin who happens to be Speaker of the House, what are you to do? So he did this interview with Meet the Press, and we're gonna run through a couple versions of the issues that he's facing. And so the first has to do with him closing down the House as sort of like an emergency measure to stop inconvenient votes being called by the Democrats for disclosure of the Epstein files. Take a look.
Why did you adjourn the House early, and does it run the risk of feeding the perception that there's something to hide in the Epstein matter?
Look, these are all important questions. Let me be absolutely clear, as we have been from the very beginning. House Republicans insist upon the release of all credible evidence and information related to Epstein in any way. But we are also insisting upon the protection of innocent victims. And our concern is that the Massey and Khanna discharge petition is reckless in the way that it is drafted and presented. It does not adequately include those protections. And I can explain all the details of that. What the important thing on the timing, to answer that question first, is that we did not do anything to end the term of Congress early. The Massey Khanna discharge petition was filed so that it would not ripen until a day after Congress had previously been scheduled for almost a year to be out of session and in the district work period for August. And that is the timing of it.
Now I understand that he began that long diatribe by saying, let me be perfectly clear, which if you've been paying attention to politics for even 5 minutes, you know means that they're not going to be. And he wasn't in two different ways. First of all, for the first minute of him talking, it had nothing to do with the timing. And that's what the question was about. And then when he finally did turn to the timing, he tried to gross you out so you wouldn't pay attention by talking about things ripening. And then he said something about how it wasn't going to ripen until after they were already going to leave anyway, which I don't believe is true, but let's say that it is. You still ended it early. So what, now you might say that didn't affect me ending it early, but you can't claim that you didn't end or you didn't adjourn early. You did in fact do that. And so all of this again, he went on this interview to try to make things look less suspicious, but I don't think he accomplished that at all. But honestly, as bad as the adjourning early is, I think the bombshell that we are taking steps towards every day, and we'll have more to say about that, is more about Ghislaine Maxwell and her potential testimony in the House and the potential pardon that also might come around that same time. But let's turn now to her testimony.
Do you think that Ghislaine Maxwell can be trusted?
Well, I mean, look, it's a good question. I hope so. I hope that she would want to come clean. We certainly are interested in knowing everything that she knows. And as you'll note, in our House Republican majority, we're working towards that. Chairman Comer and our Oversight Committee has already issued their own subpoena. They want to bring in Ghislaine Maxwell as well. I hope she's telling the truth. She is convicted. She is serving a 20-year sentence for child sex trafficking. And so her character is in some question. But if she wants to come clean now, that would be a great service to the country, and we'd like to know every single bit of information that she has. I certainly hope she's telling the truth.
Yeah, and maybe that's true. Again, he has to say that, and he has to imply that he's totally in favor with this, but he's also totally fine with the fact that all we've had so far is Donald Trump's former personal lawyer going down and personally interviewing behind closed doors with no guarantee of disclosure, Ghislaine Maxwell to this point. And you noticed, as he has been doing, he's constantly reminding everyone, hey, just in case, she's super shady, okay? So don't trust her if she says something that you don't like. And also, during the entire thing, he has to pretend as if every move that Donald Trump has made isn't suspicious as hell. And he has to maintain that fiction, which I find to be super suspicious. So we'll turn to the pardon in a little bit, but JR, what do you think of those first two clips?
Yeah, there's a couple things going on here. So first of all, when he said, let's be clear, we've been totally upfront and principled about this whole thing since the beginning. Bro, if you have been, you shouldn't have to keep telling us that you've been clear and principled. We see the clarity and we see the principles, but everyone's in an uproar because there's been none of that. That's just propaganda. That's just dictatorship 101. I'm the best ever because I just said so. Despite the reality of what we're seeing, there's a reason people are upset is because you haven't been any of those things. But also the clock running out, as you mentioned, on that week. So therefore you leave an extra week early. I feel like the purpose of that is to make sure that there's no more discussions about it, that Thomas Massie isn't stepping in front of cameras anymore, that Ro Khanna is no longer talking about how this has been delayed and we're waiting for that vote in the third and the fourth. He just needs it to all go away. And so that's not really getting him very far, but I feel like he sits and listens to himself talk. And he's like, I still got the boring tone going. I still wearing the glasses, and people must trust me because I keep talking about how I'm such a Christian as I'm trying to help this guy cover up this entire sex trafficking, underage sex trafficking ring that was happening. And so this back in here, he needs Ghislaine Maxwell and he hopes that he can trust her because she's gonna come clean. I'm not sure people know this how it usually works. If someone is gonna give up the evidence on other folks in order to get a lessened sentence, that usually happens before they get convicted because they've got the information. She's already been convicted, she's up for 20 years. All the things that got her convicted, where's that evidence, bro? You already have it. You have it because you convicted her. Why do you need her anymore? She's already off. You take that same information and go, I'm gonna show you guys everything else that happened. The way that this woman, that's the attorney general, told us she's got all that information, but suddenly we reverted back to needing Ghislaine Maxwell to get information that we already got that got Ghislaine Maxwell. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I would also, if I was the host, I would have loved a couple of follow-up questions like, well, if it was not gonna ripen until the day after you were due to leave, rather than leaving early, maybe just extend it by a couple days, and do your own version that protects the victims more. I mean, this is critical. Like, your base cares about this more than anything else. Why not stay a couple more days in pursuit of justice? Alternatively, can you admit, Speaker, that it is highly suspicious that the DOJ decided to close this case without ever once interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell? Can you admit that that is the most suspicious thing that Pam Bondi could have possibly done? But I don't believe either of those questions were asked. If you enjoyed that, make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming an actual member. But you're probably wondering, why the hell would I do that, John? First off, calm down. The stakes in this are very, very low. But also, when you click the join button and you become a member, you get access to bonus content that I make every week, and it's a ton of fun. You get access to tons of custom emojis and more besides that. By the way, if you join at tier 3, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself and other awesome people, and we always have a great time. By the way, you'll get all that going forward, but you also unlock years of the back catalog. That is literally 100 or more bonus clips, top 10 lists, debates, and more. What are you waiting for? Click the join button below. Your support powers our show, and we couldn't do it without you. Or at the very least, I wouldn't really want to try. Viewers like you keep me here. So thank you in advance for joining.